By the end of this video, you'll know how to run the most effective and efficient sprint review with your Scrum team. When working with Scrum teams, I usually ask about the quality and frequency of their sprint reviews. And I kid you not, the most common answer I get is, you mean the demo, right? No, I don't mean the demo. I mean the sprint review. That's the problem with many Scrum teams. They spend a lot of time inspecting, but not enough adapting. The demo is only a small portion of a sprint review, but more on that later. For now, let's define effectiveness and efficiency, especially the difference between these two terms. In simple terms, effectiveness means doing the right things and efficiency means doing things right. Again, the goal of this video is to show you how to run effective sprint reviews. And once you have the effectiveness in check, you can start working on the efficiency side of things, meaning doing the right things right. It would make sense to start with why we do sprint reviews. What's the purpose? What's the goal? Why are we doing sprint reviews in the first place? Well, let's have a look at the Scrum Guide 2020. The purpose of a sprint review is to inspect the outcome of a sprint and determine future adaptations. The Scrum team presents the results of their work to key stakeholders and progress towards the product goal as discussed. During the event, the Scrum team and stakeholders review what was accomplished in the sprint and what has changed in their environment. Based on this information, attendees collaborate on what to do next. The product backlog may also be adjusted to meet new opportunities. The sprint review is a working session and the Scrum team should avoid limiting it to a presentation. The sprint review is a perfect example of the 3 pillars of Scrum working in real life: inspection, adaptation, and transparency. Inspecting what we did in the sprint, adapting the product backlog, getting feedback, adapting the product backlog, and transparency, showing everything to all the stakeholders. Everyone has the same information so that we can make good decisions. That's the purpose of a sprint review, and everything you do in this session should result in you meeting this goal. That's what effectiveness is all about, and once you have this effectiveness in check, you can start working on efficiency, meaning doing the right things right. But what are the right things? What does a good sprint review look like? Let's go through a checklist on how I do it. And while going through this checklist, just remember effectiveness in your mind. What are we trying to achieve? What's written in the Scrum Guide? Each one of these points, you don't need to do it perfectly. You don't need to follow this checklist as per the book. You can use your own checklist as long as you remember the purpose. What are we trying to achieve? I like starting with a product owner. The product owner sets the stage. Why are we here? What are we trying to achieve with this sprint review? And maybe some context, what happened in the past sprint reviews. All information that the product owner feels is relevant in order to meet our goal for this session. And then talk about the sprint goal. What were we trying to achieve this sprint? The user stories, the tasks, the bugs, the issues, the defects we were trying to fix. And then talk about what we achieved. What were we able as a team to get done in this sprint? And then the developers jump in. The developers do the demo, the demonstration of the increment. Remember, the goal of a sprint is to build a potentially shippable increment of a product. Were we able to build it? Can we show it to the stakeholders? And then the stakeholders will provide valuable feedback. They will tell us if we were able to meet the sprint goal. Was it a successful sprint? Was it a failure? Do they like the increment that we built? Do they feel that the customers will find this increment valuable once it's put to the market? What do they want to change? What do they want to see in the future? And then we transition to this product backlog. How do we adapt the product backlog for the coming sprints based on this information that we just saw? Do we need to adapt it or not? What should we work on priority? Maybe the stakeholders have additional information from management, from the directors, from the company, other stakeholders, from a marketing team, from a sales team. All the information relevant for us to make a decision together on work to work on priority in the coming sprints. Remember, our goal here is to maximize value. Make sure that the developers are working on the right things that will maximize value and provide the most valuable product to the customer. All relevant information should be shared in this section, and then we work together. We work together to update this product backlog. It's recommended that sprint reviews also include your customers, people actually using the application. I know that some teams or companies don't like following this guideline, and I hear them. Yeah, I also don't feel like customers should be present in the sprint review, maybe for a small portion when we are demonstrating the application, but the whole thing, no. Simply because we are talking about sensitive information, the team needs to feel safe, the stakeholders need to feel safe, and they might not feel psychologically safe in front of customers. Safety is extremely important. We need to be able to be in a safe, psychologically safe place to provide feedback. That's the most important part. We need to talk about impediments, things that are slowing us down. How can the stakeholders help? We need to talk about the statistics, the metrics, the burn down chart, the burn up chart. Talk about some difficult things sometimes, and this might not be possible in front of a customer. And remember, the sprint review is not a demonstration or a presentation. No, it's a working session. It's written in the Scrum guide. It's a working session to inspect and adapt the product backlog. Inspect what we built, what happened in the sprint, and adapt the product backlog. We are doing that together. It's a working session. Now, let's quickly talk about the role of each person, how everyone should be acting during the sprint review, starting with stakeholders. They need to show up. That's the most important step. I know many Scrum teams that do sprint reviews without their stakeholders. That's sad. Stakeholders need to show up, to give context, to give information, what's happening with the customers, the marketing team, the sales team, the communication team, the directors, the managers. We need the context, we need all the information relevant so that we can make good decisions in terms of the product backlog. Also, feedback is important on what we build with this sprint. Feedback on the team and showing it also shows that what the Scrum team is doing is important. But showing up is not enough. You need to be asking questions, giving feedback, providing, sharing this context. It's a working session. It's not a presentation by the team. No, it's a working session. You need to participate as a stakeholder. If you don't understand something, ask a question. If you're not clear on what is the sprint goal, what did the team want to achieve this sprint, how many things they achieved this sprint, ask questions. You need to understand the context and everything in order to provide good feedback. Next, the product owner, and the very first thing you need to do is to invite the stakeholders. Set up a meeting and invite all the relevant stakeholders. I know many product owners who don't do that. They expect the stakeholders will just show up to the session. No, invite the relevant stakeholders and ensure that they will be coming. Talk to them prior to the meeting, prior to the session. Ensure that they will be coming. Ensure that they see, understand the importance of a sprint review. And invite should be recurring. Same place, same time, every single sprint. This will ensure that the Scrum team is the sort of owner of this session, is the priority in this session, and the stakeholders are following the rhythm of the Scrum team compared to the Scrum team following the rhythm of stakeholders. Next is the structure. Talked about that. Follow this structure, at least when starting out. And once you get good, you can invent your own structure, keeping the purpose and the goal in mind. But to start with, the structure we just talked about is perfect. This will ensure that the session is effective and efficient. Next are the developers. Developers need to be extremely active during this session, asking questions, answering questions, not being too technical. Keep the business side of things in mind and try to include as many developers as possible during the demo, during the section where we talk about what went well, what could be improved. Involve everyone. You need to show that you are working as a team and we are celebrating this sprint as a team together. Even if it's not a successful sprint, even if we failed this sprint, but what is failure? An opportunity to improve. So that in itself is success. There's no such thing as a failed sprint. And the demonstration, get it right. Prepare. Ensure that the interfaces, all the APIs are available prior to a demonstration so that the thing works. Preparation is also key. And the last role, the Scrum Master, ensure first that we are doing the session. Many Scrum teams don't even do sprint reviews. The Scrum Master needs to ensure that we are doing the session. The team understands why we are doing the session, the purpose, the goal, what's in it for them so that they can translate this passion to the stakeholders. We need to understand why first we are doing the session. And then the structure. Follow a good structure when starting out, the thing that we talked about previously. Then you can start editing, updating the structure to ensure that it's efficient and effective. But understand the purpose and the goal first and collect feedback, not only on the product, not only on the increment, but also the structure, how we are doing the sprint review, what needs to improve, all the stakeholders liking the way we communicate to them. Are we requesting this feedback? At least once a month, you should be requesting this feedback. And in terms of demonstration, the demo, ensure that the developers know how to demonstrate, now know how to present in a business language so that everyone understands. Just ensure that the session is done, and the session is done efficiently and effectively. That's the role of a Scrum Master, which brings me to my next point. If you want more tips, insights on Agile Scrum personal growth, click on the video that stands out the most on the screen right now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.